Alright, my first anime that really needs a reboot, and this is just solely based on my own personal opinion, but I would say it has to be Rave Master, because Rave Master was a pretty solid show. It's just that it just suffered from way too many edits from, to be suitable for little kids. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the show. It's just, Cartoon Network had dropped the show and I couldn't finish it. And I'll be honest, I went back and watched a good majority of it, and in English anyway. And let's just say I had no clue that over time I had no clue that Fairy Tail was made by the same person that made Rave Master, and now that he's going on Eden of the East, I think that's the name of the next series, or Eden Zero, I think. I'm not sure. It's been I'm not really into the Loop yet anymore. I've been way too busy to keep up with all that. But the thing is, Rave Master is basically it's basically set to where they're going on this huge journey to find the rave stones and everything. And due to a whole bunch of meddling, and I would say being done by 4Kids and everything, they had to edit all this other stuff out of it, or either 4Kids did it or some other company did it. But anyway, though, they just really kidified the series, and I feel like it just did it no good, and they really did us a disservice. Like, there's a lot of stuff that they cut out that I didn't notice. I actually went back and watched some of the episodes in Japanese, and oh my god, they cut out a lot. Even in the beginning, they cut out a really funny scene, but due to certain body parts and everything, and plot, they couldn't really do that, even though it's perfectly normal in society. I mean, nowadays in America, you have to be really careful about what you say and do, even though most of the stuff is just perfectly fine and people are just getting way bent out of shape over it. I mean, like I said, I have nothing against PC culture. I'm just saying there's a good time for it and there's a bad time for it. That's all I'm saying about it. I'm gonna say that and leave it at that. I feel like I feel like we should all really get to know the real Haru, whether we speak in English or Japanese. But I think Funimation should be responsible for the dub, or at least get all the original voice actors for that particular dub back, but redo the lines to be more truthful to the original source. And I know Funimation has been known to change things up, but personally, I don't understand why people are so upset by some of that stuff. Like, it's really because, I find it really funny because it's like this. It's like they these same people get all upset over a dub changing 2 or 3 lines and everything. They're trying to make it make sense and everything, or stick to the point of the series, and then they get all bent out and say dubs are terrible. I'm like, no, you're terrible. Don't get me wrong, there have been some bad dubs. I ain't gonna lie and say there weren't any bad dubs. I'm just saying I didn't find anything wrong with Funimation's dubs too much. It's just everybody's like they stray a little too far and they change up stuff for the agendas and everything. I'm like, no, if they change a celebrity's name in a line, it's not because to be cool and hip and everything. They're trying to make it more relatable to an audience that has no clue about Japanese celebrities. That's like, wow, with that wig, that's like, wow, man, I like girls that look like Yama Yoshida. See, you don't even know who that is. I just made that name up. We don't even know who that is. And it's like, nah, I like girls that are tall and curvy, like Cardi B or Megan Thee Stallion. See, they're not doing it to be woke or whatever they claim to be, or being annoying. They're doing it so they can relate to an audience. Obviously it's not always the same in Japan. Like, what's weird to us may be normal for them, and what's normal to us may be weird to them. That's all I'm saying. It's like we're just trying to they're just trying to make things fit, and I have no problem with that. And I hope they do that with the dub of a remake or a remaster, or should I say a reboot of Rave Master. And not only that, the main reason why I want them to remaster or redo or reboot Rave Master the most is because of the Rave Master / Fairy Tail crossover, and it'll convince them to dub the Fairy Tail OVAs, because not one of those OVAs have been dubbed, and I'm shocked as to why. It's been years, man. Y'all could have done those at any time. There's only what 6 of them, I think. I didn't really check. It's been a while since I checked, but anyway, though, let's move on to the next one. Next on my list of series that seriously need a reboot, it's a really old series, but a goodie, and it's a series called Meisani Koku. Now, Meisani Koku is pretty much just about a young man by the name of Godai who's in college. Well, technically trying to get into a good college, or trying to graduate college so he can get a good job and eventually move out of the place or apartment complex with the same name, Meisani Koku. Now, Godai is a pretty chill and understanding dude. He's just trying to make a way for himself, and he has to constantly study and try to deal with his tenants constantly coming in and out of his bedroom, drinking at all times of night, throwing parties, playing loud music or whatever. Everything you don't want in other roommates and tenants and all that. And then one day, there's this girl named Kyoko, who becomes a new landlady and the caretaker of Meisani Koku, and she herself is an extremely strong and caring character. The moment Godai addressed or seen, basically Godai at one point at the beginning of it has had enough. Like, his tenants have pushed him to this limit, and the moment he feels like he's about to pack up the stuff and move out and go back to his parents, Kyoko walks through the front door, and it's love at first sight. Now, like I said, Kyoko is quite the woman. Probably the best landlord I've ever seen. If there's a problem, she addresses it, and she'll actually get off her butt and fixes it. And don't let that little pretty face fool you. She'll pick up the tools and handle it. Now, the whole series is pretty much just based around the romance between her and Godai, but there are a few other obstacles in their way of getting together. Like, for one, there's this guy named Shun, who is pretty much everything Godai wants to be, technically, if I had to be specific. Who's actually a tennis instructor, and let's just say he's got his life together. Obviously, he's got his life together. It's like he has his own place, a car, and a good amount of money. Can afford to take anyone out anywhere he wants. He's by no means rich, but he's doing pretty good for himself. I would say that. Basically, it's a love triangle between Godai, Kyoko, and Shun. But there are conflicts between. There's a little more complex than you think. Like, for one, Godai and Shun, they are very different men. But due to their qualities, you see the difference between them, and get to understand these characters a little bit more as the series goes on. Like Godai, all he wants to do is make something of himself so he can move out. And let's just say with Kyoko there, he's got a little more inspiration to try to do better for himself. And then there's Shun. He's got everything. He's pretty much got everything. He's pretty much got his life together. I ain't gonna lie. He pretty much got his life together. But the problem is that the way it starts, and the moment those two see each other and figure out what the other's intentions are with Kyoko, it turns out that Shun's actually a little more arrogant. And he feels like that Godai is not going to be much of a challenge. Like, seriously, I got all this and that, and there's no way she would choose you over me. And let's just say Kyoko actually has gone on a few dates with Shun a little bit, and it's actually hung around Godai a lot more and everything. She gets to know these men and sees the good and the bad in their personalities, while also going through her own personal turmoil. Like she was actually married at one point. She's actually a widower. She's actually a widow. The thing is, her husband Seiichiro died while they were still fairly young, and let's just say the way they met was a little unconventional. I would say it's a little more taboo. It's a little more taboo than what you would say. Basically, Soichiro started out as Kyoko's teacher, and Kyoko fell in love with him. But the thing is, Soichiro, I will give Soichiro props. The man was respectful and actually waited until she graduated for them to pursue a relationship with one another, rather than being, during class or outside of class, because that's wrong and it's mature, and then people think you're taking advantage of a young girl or something. And I will respect that and everything, but it's basically her trying to get over her deceased husband, and trying to move on and actually have a better life, to have a better and happier life with a new man in her life. She's struggling with that. She eventually gets over it. Let's just say after a little while, Shun, like I said, was a little more arrogant, but he starts to get a little more pushy, and then we all start to quit. I would say that would be a good way to show the dynamic of men, and how this and that can make you arrogant, or how people act. I would say it's probably one of the most relatable love triangles I've ever seen. It's like the guy down on his luck trying to push himself. I know it seems a little rom-commy, but to me it just seems a little more relatable, because I relate so much to Godai. And that's one of the many reasons why I would love to see Maison Ikkoku come back, but in a more of a modern setting. Because the series takes place in like the either mid to late 80s. And if I watch the series a little more carefully, it's led to believe that the apartment complex Maison Ikkoku has been there since World War II, or at least the building has been there since World War II, and was kind of a refuge for some soldiers. But other than that, man, that's all I have to say about this one. I just say, if you have not seen Maison Ikkoku, if you can get past the old school animation, then give it a watch. If you're still not convinced, I would say this: if you're wondering why the love triangle dynamic seems a little familiar, it was written and made by a wonderful mangaka and series creator, Rumiko Takahashi, whom you may know for Inuyasha. If that's not more of a reason to convince you to watch, I don't see any other reason. Alright, but let's move on. Alright, halfway down the list, and here's one of the big ones that series needs a reboot. And it's been a shonen series that's been near and dear to my heart. And let's just say if it wasn't for Toonami, I probably would have never seen or ever heard of any anime at all. And this one goes to Yu Yu Hakusho. Yusuke Urameshi. I would kill to see Yusuke Urameshi back, or back in better animation. I mean, like, we all do know that the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho is also the creator of Hunter x Hunter. Personally, probably not his best work. I'm not trying to be a dick or anything. I'm just saying, I'm sorry, man. It's just, how do you go from something so dope as Yu Yu Hakusho to Hunter x Hunter? Sorry, man. It just doesn't. I still question whether they're the same, whether they're created by the same person. It's just a little weird. I'm like, no offense, but if I were him, I would have just stuck. I would have just stuck with Yu Yu Hakusho and put my best foot forward. But then again, Hunter x Hunter is not, or Hunter x Hunter for some people, is pretty much well known for all the hiatuses and everything. And don't get me wrong, I will admit Hunter x Hunter is a decent series, but it's just not for me. But anyway, though, we ain't here to talk about that. We're talking about Yu Yu Hakusho, probably one of the dopest shonens in history. Paved the way for all these other shonen anime, and yet we barely hear people talking about it anymore. Which is why we seriously need a reboot. Better animation, better quality. You can even bring it to the modern era. All you gotta do is add smartphones. You can keep the hairstyles and the clothing that they wear the same, but just add smartphones and other stuff like that. Because it's clear late 80s, early 90s. 90s is where the series is kind of taking place. Seeing VHS tapes and all that sort of thing, I mean, we can just swap that for DVD. That's close enough, to have a good of a change. But anyway, though, it's more about how Yusuke goes from this low-life punk to make it to defending the earth, or defending our realm, or our world from demons and other sorts of threats coming to destroy everything or kill folks. I mean, especially the way Cartoon Network did the show. They had put it on Toonami for a little while. Then I watched it there for a little while. They censored everything. Then it vanished. A few months later, it ended up on Adult Swim, and that's where I really got into it. I'll be honest, because everything was uncensored. Because then I at first noticed that it was uncensored because I had watched that same 2 or 3 episodes before on Toonami, but I never heard him curse, not once. I mean, it was just quite a sight. It was just new, different. Wow, that's cool. It's not like Dragon Ball at all. It's different. Because the main character's human and more relatable than you think. Because at the time, I was 8 or 9 years old. I was quite the little troublemaker, I'll be honest. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I was quite the little troublemaker when I was 8 or 9 years old. And after watching Yusuke Urameshi, the bad boy-esque type of dude, that made me want to act more like him. And after a while watching, and as I'm watching, I see him showing a little bit of good change. It just showed me that you don't have to be a bad boy and go looking for trouble. The thing is, Yusuke, before he even got any of his powers in the series, he was the dude that went looking for fights, looking for trouble. But after watching that series and a few talks with my dad after I got into a couple fights when I was a kid, really straightened me out. Showed me that don't go looking for trouble. Wait till it comes to you, and then handle it. And don't be no bully either. Help other kids that get bullied too. And that's sort of why I started becoming. But as I got older, I began to get bullied more. But it was right during the time where people stopped hitting you and trying to run up on you and hit you. Well, at least where I lived at, people just start talking crap. They jank you and everything, or you either jank them back and jank them so hard to the point to where they stop talking, or you can just sit there and take the abuse. The thing is, I chose option B because it's he talks a lot of crap. He ain't stupid enough to pick no fight with me, pretty much. And that's the main reason why I love Yu Yu Hakusho, because you could relate to it. If you were even if you're not a punk, if you see someone you want to look up to and everything, Yusuke pretty much handled everything with his fist. No, absolutely not that much evidence of talk no jutsu anywhere, and I absolutely love that about his character. Kuwabara, Hiei, and the rest of them, that was the squad, that was the crew. Can you imagine them in newer, up-to-date animation, HD and everything? Plus, I only think it's. I mean, since Sailor Moon got so many uh, either I'm not sure if they're reboots or continuations or anything because I don't really screw around with. I don't really mess with Sailor Moon like that. I mean, if Sailor Moon can get us a few touch ups and everything and cleans ups and a reboot, why can't Yu Yu Hakusho? No, seriously, it only seems fair because like think about it, the creator of Sailor Moon and the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho are married. What's going on here, man? We should have been had a Yu Yu Hakusho reboot. That's all I'm saying. Moving on. Alright, next on the list is Rama One Half. Yeah, I know. We're getting a lot of Rumiko Takahashi works on this list, but hear me out on this one. Not only is Rama One Half a good series, it's got a good romance element. There's shonen action for everybody. Not to mention the series. Well, the anime ended on kind of a cliffhanger, and it was kind of very unsatisfying. It literally ends with Rama and Akane just walking down the street or walking to school, turn around and look at the camera and saying like thanks for watching or something like that. And it's like, so do you two get married? And before anyone says, just read the manga, I don't want to. I'm like a Orochimaru. My eyes respond to motion. Sorry, man. I just can't look at those black and white pictures in there all the time. I've had a few manga volumes before. It's just manga just isn't my thing. I like animation. Sorry. But anyway, though, pretty much Rama is pretty much just about a young man and his father one day, going on this long training journey, discovering and learning different types of martial arts and everything. And it's hilarious, and a lot of comedy and a lot of comedic effect happens. One day while they're training, they both fall in some Chinese springs. One is like, well, not just any springs, cursed springs. Jisenkyo, China, I might add, cursed springs. Basically, Rama's father, Genma Saotome, falls into a spring of cursed panda. Meaning, I guess apparently whoever falls in that spring is cursed to turn into a panda. And let's just say the curse is only it's kind of temporary. The thing is, cold water turns him into a panda, hot water turns him back into a man. So you probably wonder what possible curse did Rama get? Well, Rama got one that's for let's just say the series is a little more progressive than we all thought, and this is made back in the early 90s, I guess, late 80s, early 90s. He fell into the water. He fell in the spring of Cursed Girl, and now every time cold water splashes him, he turns into a beautiful young girl. And when hot water hits him, he turns back into a man or boy. They then make their way to Japan, where they go to the Tendo Dojo, where Gemma actually made like a deal or a promise to Mr. Tendo. Tendo and Gemma are old buddies and actually old disciples of another master that they trained under all those years ago. They made a agreement that Rama would marry one of his daughters. Mr. Tendo has 3 daughters. Well, one of them is I can't remember one of them. I really blew my mind. I just know one of them is the oldest. I can't remember her name. But the other 2 are Nabiki and Akane. And since Nabiki is a little bit older than Rama, I guess, and the eldest daughter is way too old for Rama. She's practically an adult. She's like 19 or 20 years old. And Rama and Akane are around the same age. They're both 15 to 16 years old. So Tendo makes the agreement that Rama will then marry Akane. But one big problem. Akane does not like boys. Well, not like she's a lesbian or anything. It's more like she just has a strong dislike for boys due to her situation in dealing with young men at her school. Because apparently they think she's very attractive. But they reveal that they're cursed. Then they reveal that Rama is actually half boy and half girl, technically. Here's the name, Rama 1/2. Now, along the series, these two bicker and slowly get to know one another. They slowly get to know one another, breaking down these walls and barriers. But at the same time, Rama has his problems too. But the thing is, the worst problem is the curse is just one of a small little part of his problems. It turns out his father made the exact same promise to a whole bunch of other men and a whole bunch of other people, promising that they would marry, that his son would marry their daughter. Not to mention, Rama also made an enemy in China. He accidentally beat someone in a warrior tribe by the name of Shampu, and due to their tribe, if he beats her in battle or triumphs over her in battle, she must wed that man. Not really sure how that works. That just seems a little strange. But anyway, though, stick with me here. It's basically him trying to live his life while actually dealing with all these different romantic interests that want him, whether he's a male or a female. And it's really funny. Some of the situation that they put him through, it's like sad opportunity moments that turn him into a girl at the worst possible time. One of his many rivals in battle, and also for Akane's heart, also has feelings for his woman side, or female Rama, I would say. I mean, I would love to see this hijinks in higher definition, better animation and everything. Plus, point out that this series was a lot more progressive than we all thought, and also shed some light onto it. Maybe bring up the whole gender thing as a joke, or not just a joke, but as how crazy the world is about, gender being subjective, I guess. Now that, I mean, with a series like that, it would actually fit pretty well nowadays, and you can't even argue about that, because that's a pretty good way to put it. Because it's like in every man there's a feminine side, and in every woman there's a masculine side, and whether we know it, whether we like it or not, it's there, and it addresses those things a little bit, not that much, but it's mostly about romance, comedy, and fighting, and I put it that way. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's just say it's one of the many plus the way they ended it was pretty much similar to the same way they ended Meisani Koku. You're probably wondering why I mentioned Meisani Koku, because Rama 1/2 and Meisani Koku are both works by Rumiko Takahashi. And I know she seems to be pretty popular. She knows how to do romance and comedy at the same time. But she added a little bit of shonen in this one. While it's a little relatable, but at the same time, it's mostly played up for comedic effects for Rama 1/2. It's mainly comedy, to be honest. Plus, I don't like Gintama. It's not really that funny to me. Anyway, to me, I think Rama 1/2 is actually better than Gintama. Just that's just in my opinion. Don't eat me up in the comment section for that. But anywho, let's move on to the last one. Boy, y'all gonna be shocked when I say the last one. And last but not least, Pokemon. Come on, man. Pokemon. It has to be Pokemon. Because think about it. With all the Pokemon that we have now, it's ridiculous. Personally, I feel like, the anime should be rebooted. I don't know, but the game series can keep going for all I care. I just want Ash to be redone and fixed and done properly. Pick an art style and stick with it. Like maybe the one in that newer, maybe that one in that newer that new movie that kind of shows kind of like a retelling of the first couple of episodes of the original series. Like, choose that animation style and stick with that one. Don't do that weird looking one that they had for the Unova region. No, not Unova, but the Alola region or whatever. Because, like, he looks terrible in that series. I'm sorry. He just looks so weird. But anyway, though, like, the main reason why I would love to see a Pokemon originals, like the original Pokemon rebooted, it's mainly because when you look, like, we all thought, the original Pokemon was great and everything, but when you really look back at it, I think they need to go back to it and make a few changes. Because, like, when you really think about it, it really didn't dawn on me till I watched a guy on YouTube called Brandon to the Past. Shout out to him. Subscribe to his channel. The guy's pretty funny. But anyway, though, he pointed out something I didn't even realize. That Ash was pretty much mostly given most of his badges in the first series. Well, the very first season to be actually. Well, Gen 1 basically. And it's kind of sad. Like, then you realize just how garbage of a trainer Ash actually is. Like, that and those other seasons and different series, like Diamond and Pearl, Pokemon Advance and everything. Dude, can we reboot this? Can we just reboot the series and have each little new region that they go to from the reboot from that point on, have all that happen within like a month or just a few weeks? Because a lot could happen in a few weeks. And let's just say it's all like the whole entirety of Pokemon. Like, none of it makes sense because it's like all this stuff happening and Ash is still 10 years old. Personally, I feel like we should start all the way over and just or pretty much do what Pokemon Origins did. Put Ash in the game-esque universe. How Red and Blue are from Pokemon Origins, I guess. And just do it that way. Or we can stick to how the current Pokemon, like the main Pokemon storyline is, but make a few changes. Like, don't make Ash like a very credible, like a very capable trainer, but show that make him a little smarter. Make him a little smarter, because like when you first see him in the very beginning of the first episode, like he's 10 years old. He's lived in the universe long enough to know what some Pokemon are able to do. At least, and he watches Pokemon battles. So he would know type disadvantages. He would know all this other stuff that you should and should not do. And maybe have him take those type disadvantages as a risk, just to build up suspense and stuff like that. Now that would be interesting. But I'm saying, like, have him go back and earn all his badges. Like, you can still keep the stone badge where you lost the first time, to indicate that Ash is not perfect. Maybe he'll think of a strategy to win, but just didn't think of it that way. You can still have that episode play out the same way, but just have Ash win in a different way. Because from my perspective, in that battle between Brock and Ash, it just looked like Ash cheated from that point. All that water falling down on Onyx, and then Pikachu using Thunderbolt to knock him out and everything. Like, maybe do that. It's like, maybe do it in a different way. Because at that point, didn't Brock end the battle right there and then? So, and then he still chose to attack. I still say he cheated, but anyway, or find another way to do it. Find another way to do it. Or another route they could do with it would be like fully explain why Ash has not aged. Like maybe he keeps a ho-ho feather on him, and that ho-ho feather is not magic, but apparently that little rumor or Pokedex entry is actually true. It didn't really grant a wish. It was more like the implications of a wish or a thought, and it made Ash stay young, stay past 10 or something, or maybe that Ho-Ho symbolizes something else. Maybe the Ho-Ho is not a wild Ho-Ho. Maybe that Ho-Ho was actually Ash's father's, and he caught it at one point, and that bird has been flying around to check on Dahlia and Ash, and it's just simply flying back to Ash's father. Like, start the Pokemon series over again, have him earn his badges, and actually put him through some high stake battles. You know, make Ash the dope dude that we all thought he was. But, you know, looking back, he ain't really much to look at. I get that they're trying to make him, you know, naive and be similar to, you know, so that we, the audience, can project ourselves onto him. I get that. But I'm just saying, looking back, man, Ash really wasn't much of a trainer. And I think they should change that. Change that a little bit, make him somewhat competent, but don't make him super competent. Like, you know, the kid should know enough, you know, that whole type disadvantage. Like, I think the only thing they should keep would be the whole Caterpie versus Pidgey battle. And have Misty say that same line. And it would fit. Like, have him be competent in some points and incompetent. Like easy mistakes. Like anybody that just got dumped into the Pokemon world would make. Stuff like that. But mainly because I really, really would love to see it in a better animation form. And I don't have any kids, but I have nieces and nephews that like Pokemon and everything, and they still young. I would love to see them follow Ash like we did. But maybe not take 22 years to win a freaking championship or a Pokemon League. Oh my god. Dude. Talking about if he wins a Pokemon League, the series ends. No, it doesn't. Just have him go to another region, have him do the same thing, beat all these Pokemon Leagues. Maybe his father hears about him winning all these Pokemon Leagues, and then the final league turns out like the final battle will be between him and his father. Answer a lot of questions in Pokemon that we all been asking for all these decades and years. And I mean, really answer these questions. Better have Ash be, for once, have Ash be us and ask those questions that we've been asking for decades, and then get those answers. Maybe have Ash and his father either tie, or maybe use Pikachu in the last battle against I'm not sure what other Pokemon would do, but you know, this is Ash's father. Like, actually show who he is. Or maybe confirm that little theory that maybe Giovanni is actually Ash's father. Now that would be hilarious. But let's not. But that's way too easy of a cop out. Have him be like this really dope dude, but like he's like underground, like only people in the know who he is. Or maybe he runs the Pokemon League. Like, he's one of the corporate dudes of the, you know, on the higher ups, and he's probably literally the strongest trainer in their world. But they don't talk about that. Basically that. And then one day they find each other. They question the whole thing about Pokemon and everything about it. What does it really mean to be a Pokemon master? Like, what does it mean to catch them all? And that's another thing. Have Ash actually catch all the Pokemon. You don't have to do it for every single episode, but I'm just saying, you know, at least live up to the slogan. That's all I'm saying. Pokemon, gotta catch them all. Except he only caught he hasn't even caught the entirety of the first Pokedex. He just skipped a few. Also, another reason I would love for them to reboot it is because of all the banned episodes, especially the whole gun controversy thing. Seriously, dude, It's America. Kids ain't stupid. We know what guns are. That whole episode was kind of that whole bang of that episode was dumb. Now the one about the tentacle destroying the buildings and everything, that one kind of made sense. I get why, because that would be very insensitive. But enough years have passed. We're over that. We didn't forget. We're just over that. And last but not least, there's another episode, Electric Soldier Porygon. Yeah, Porygon needs to be needs a proper episode. The whole epileptic thing, they could have edited that. All they had to do was edit that scene, have it flash for a few seconds, add some stock footage, or animate some more stock footage or something, and to fill in that little blank between all the flashes, and just redo it. And that would have been fine. It would have been done. But that's all I got to say. Like I said, Pokemon seriously needs a reboot. Because I don't like the current Ash that we have. I know he's slowly gotten slightly better, but I also can we get a Victoria Taylor, or if I'm not mistaken. Dang, my tea fell over. Sorry, y'all. Anyway, though, I'm only doing one take, y'all, just so y'all know. I feel like it's been long enough. We got enough Pokemon. He can go to all these different regions now, meet all these different people. Personally, I feel like they can still switch up the whole crew that he rolls with, but I wouldn't mind them keeping Misty and Brock, or at least keep one of them for each little. Because, like, for Brock, you see him back again. Also, the whole thing with Tracy, they could just, the whole reason why Tracy was even there, because they were suspected of racism, even though nobody cared about Brock's race, because nobody was asking about Brock's race. Take all that out, take that whole Tracy thing out. I really don't like Tracy anyway. He was lame. Anyway though, I was like, who the hell is this? Where's Brock? If we have to keep Tracy, I want to know what happened between Brock and Professor Ivy. I don't know about y'all, but I do. Because technically he's 15 at the time, and she's a grown woman, so I ain't gonna. Maybe Miss Ivy, Professor Ivy, told him off and said that anything between the two was definitely never going to happen. And I guess he took it to heart, and that's what made him all sad and depressed every time they bring her up. But anyway, though, that's pretty much all the anime I would love to see rebooted. But remember to keep in mind, this is just my opinion, everybody. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section. Like, what anime do you think deserves a reboot or needs to come back? Like, let's have a full-on discussion. Well, until then, I gotta go. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.